I think it's very important to get accurate expectations. I think it's unfair for couples to put themselves through a lot of stress when their odds of success are low. So it's a balancing act. Is it reasonable that I'm going to be successful? If that's the case, I would say stay strong as best you can for as long as you can, until you can't anymore, and then move on.
The biggest thing is that they get hung up, they're comfortable with their generalist, and they stay on multiple, they repeat the same therapy month after month after month, and of course it's not successful. So I think that's the major thing. I think that the 4-time rule is a good one to help patients. If it's not working in 4 times, then you should move on.
Infertility is a scary process. And again, all we're doing is trying to empower people with the information that allows them to move through this minefield of treatments and diagnostic tests and unknowns.
But that's different for different people. I think some couples have a very low chance of getting pregnant. Let's say pick a number, 5% with IVF. It seems to me that that's an unbalanced situation where there's hope placed in something that is almost hopeless. Not that it can't work, and it may work, but there's a price to pay.
If you think that everything's just not working and you don't know where to go, it's time to take a break and take a breath and get a second opinion, and then listen to your second opinion. And if your second opinion is really matching up with your first opinion, it's time to suck in your breath and hear what's being said to you and look at a new path for your family.
Keep focused on the goal that you have, which is having a child in your life, starting a family or adding to your family. And realize that if one method or one avenue that you may have chosen, like infertility treatments, let's say, is not working, not getting you to that goal, then you realistically have to step back and think of, should I keep pursuing that or not? Or should we look at other options like donor or adoption?
Why are you really in treatment? And it's, you know, when you're on a train and you've been on it for a while, you kind of forget your goal. And I'll say to them, I really want you to think about this, whether it's most important to have a genetic child, whether it's important to have a pregnancy, or whether it's important to parent. And if the man is in the room, I'll say the same thing, because I think pregnancy is a couple experience. It's not just a woman's experience. And many times I've had men say, I wanted my wife to be pregnant. That was really important to me. And it's a loss for him as well as her. So defining really what that is, because if it really is to be a parent, then maybe it's time to say enough is enough and move on to adoption, which will pretty much guarantee that you'll be a parent. But if it is the genetic thing or if it's the pregnancy thing, we need to look at that too.
You know, I think to some extent, people are wired to try to conceive biologically, and if that can work, and we had some success with that, I think you kind of migrate towards that path for whatever reason.
If they came to me and said, we're ending infertility treatment, we've had enough is enough, and we want to move on to adoption, I'll say, well, our next appointment will be to talk about child-free living, because I want you to look down all the different roads, and I want you to have made a decision not to be child-free rather than just to adopt. You need to know what you're choosing not to do.
You can't force a child on somebody. And you know, parenthood is forever. And so they need to be at the point where they both want to do it before you move on. And obviously, you know, with egg donation or sperm donation or adoption, there are steps along the way of people who interview you and assess you, and hopefully it'll come out. But you need to think about the child here. A child, especially a child who's coming from in a different way, either adoption or egg or sperm donation, needs to come into a family where both parents want that child desperately. And that's the only thing that's right and fair.
Seek out people who can support you in whatever way, whether it's a group or like-minded people, or people who are especially people who are going through exactly what you're going through. I think that just helps tremendously.
When couples get stuck, they need to do a number of different things. Most of all, they have to try a number of different things, not just one thing. There's no magic bullet theory here. A series of experiments of what might help. For example, if they've been having a certain conversation, to sit down and say, let me brainstorm and think, are there other questions I can ask you to get different information out? So sometimes just playing interviewer with one another as a communication exercise. Sometimes it's a more formal exercise of meeting with either their doctor and get some feedback, see if that changes some of their viewpoints, or with a mental health professional. Sometimes it's saying, we've been doing this on our own, maybe we should try talking with others, sometimes formally through a support group, sometimes just saying, okay, let's try to seek out some people we know who've been down this route and ask them questions, or just get together with them and see if they're willing to give us some time, and see if just reconfiguring the conversation adds to it.
It's hard. It's very hard to make that decision, to think that maybe if I give it one more try, it'll happen. One more try, one more try, one more try. And it absolutely could. It does happen all the time like that. It's up to you. You've got to not get so far on the emotional roller coaster that you stop listening to your own instincts and your own gut. And if it just feels wrong and exhausting and draining, and it's putting a damper on everything you do in your life, take a break. Even if you're not going to stop it, take a break. Many people just take a break for a couple of months because they just want to have their life back.
Just make a list and leave it on your refrigerator of all the things you've put on hold. And it may be big, like, I didn't go back to graduate school, or we didn't take that vacation, but it may be, very small, like, we didn't paint the bedroom because I was worried about the fumes, because, maybe it's toxic, or, we never go out with our friends anymore because, we're consumed with this. And just, kind of what is on hold, what's just got stuck, what has gotten stuck. And seeing the list, sometimes people are just like, I need to take my life back. I need to become something other than an infertility patient.
I think that one of the things that couples need to be very clear about as they start to do any of this negotiating, about what to do next with treatment, about how long to continue treatment, about when to start exploring alternatives, about which alternatives are right for them, is that they need to first regroup and really figure out what's the most important thing here. And the answer, the only correct answer, needs to be keeping this marriage intact. And if we can't get there, then we've got other things to worry about than we do whether or not this is the right treatment and whether we should move to adoption. We really need to reframe, regroup, and make sure that the marriage becomes the center of all of this. Good, tight marriage makes for wonderful parenting partners. And if our goal is parenting, then what we want is a life together where we've learned to communicate, we've learned to compromise, we've learned to listen to one another, we've learned to respect differences, and all of that will do nothing but enhance our ability to parent, because it enhances our ability to be flexible, to see the other view of things, and to turn on a dime, all of which are absolutely crucial to effective parenting over the long run.